All right, y'all. Welcome back to episode 2. That was 4. 2 of Cyclence Unlocked with Sydney Gillen and
Damian Segovia. Hello.
y'all see his outfit.
I'm in Hawaii. I'm on vacation. Y'all. Midweek.
That's what you got to do. I didn't know that. You just changed the backdrop. And
No,
you
it
can
ain't
go
no backdrop. That's real. I'm really on the beach.
So silly. So we have 2 very, very special guests that I love and that were very pivotal in my career, me watching and having somebody to look up to as I came up because there was nobody. So I looked up to these 2 people. So we have 2-time Miss Olympia Latorya Watts. Wave to the people.
Hello. Thanks for having me. Love you, Sid.
And then we have the one and only Teresa Anthony, taking it back to the original OG figure ladies back in the day.
Yes.
Okay. So this episode is Black History Month. So of course we're going to talk about Black history, and these 2 are very important for Black history, for the figure dynasties that have been built out of this and the whole evolution of the sport. So we'll tap into all the different sports, different categories, but we're going to specifically focus on figure first, and then we'll kind of just run down that. So though it is Black History Month, and Black History Month is very much a part of American history, we're going to tie them 2 together and talk about the history of the entire figure division from 2003 all the way to 2024. So
Nice.
Let's get into it. Y'all ready?
Yes.
So ready.
Okay.
Happy Black History.
All right, let's start with Teresa. So Teresa, for the people who don't know, let's go ahead and talk about it, because when I was coming up, I know me and Latorya, because we started at the same time for the most part in terms of like our rise. There wasn't really anybody before us besides Candace. And when I went to go do a deep dive, because I'm a researcher, I like to look back and see, like, is there anybody who looks like me out there, just so I can see, like, all right, she did it, I can do it. Even if there's nobody there, you know what? I still can do it, but I would like to see somebody have done it before me, so I know that is really, really possible. So for those who don't know, I want them to go ahead and know your history of being one of the first Black women to ever make the top 5 at the Olympia ever since 2023.
Right. So just so you guys know, it's pronounced Teresa.
Teresa.
So I will say that you had Letitia Wilder. So Letitia,
Okay, I do remember seeing Letitia. Mm-hmm.
I think it was the Arnold. Not sure. I want to say the Olympia, but I could be wrong. So Letitia Wilder, she was pivotal as well.
Okay.
I thought powerhouse when I first started competing, because she was training with, I think it was Mike Davies.
Okay.
The little powerhouse, and then there was Natalie Benson, who I looked up. She was tall.
Yeah.
And she had a great physique. So that's the 2 that I really liked a lot. You know, I couldn't resonate to Letitia as much because she was short.
Yeah.
Up to Natalie because she was tall and had long, just myself. So, but anyway, I digress. For me, per se, when I started, the figure was a different look, very smaller, much smaller, which worked for me because I had long limbs and I didn't really have a lot of muscle.
Yeah.
Worked to kind of get next to you guys. If I had to compete with Latorya, I would be out of my water because you guys had these beautiful muscles I never had. So the time I was there is when I needed to be there. I just couldn't achieve a lot of muscle, and that was fine. But I love the look of today. A little bit more muscle, not too muscular, but a little bit more muscle. I love it, like you guys loved it. Anyway, so when like I said, I looked up, there was definitely, I had no expectations of being a pro or anything. I did it. I competed. I went to a show and I saw these women on stage, and I said, hey, I want to do this, because I was very shy. I didn't really like wearing bikinis, shorts, or anything, because I didn't like my body. It was just tall and thin. So I did it as just a dare for myself, and just to kind of get out of my comfort zone. And so eventually, when I got my pro card, I was surprised, because I never thought that was going to happen.
Yeah.
So there was not as many Black athletes to kind of look up to at the time, but we had a few, and they were definitely not winning the Olympia. So
Yeah.
you guys came up and won. I was like, wow, finally. So, but yeah, so it's just great to see how much the sport has evolved over time.
And what was your experience like coming up? Because I know a lot of the times there's a lot of us who are in industries and in places where it's not a lot of us in general anyway, whether it's in the sport, in regular life, in corporate America. What was your experience like coming up? Because I'm going to talk about my experience, but I just want to hear about what yours was like from the beginning.
Well, I would say that I think at the time it was just, hey, just do your best because beauty, what they were looking for, it wasn't us.
Mm-hmm.
And although we had great bodies up there, we wasn't standard of what they were looking for. And say it out loud, but it was very obvious.
Yeah.
Your top 5 was always, there was never, outside of Letitia, for the most part, you wouldn't see that many Black athletes in figure.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, in other divisions, but in figure at the time, you didn't see as many. So, you just kind of went out there and you did your best, but didn't expect to make top 5 because you just wouldn't see it.
Yeah.
I would say everybody was nice. That wasn't even the issue. I met some great people over time. It's just that it just wasn't there for us. And it was in your face, but you just kind of sat back and just dealt with it. But I had no regrets. I did have fun over time. So yeah, you just sat back and you just looked at it and that's it. That's all you could do at the time.
So when you got top 5 for that first time, what was the feeling? Like, did you want to be a role model for other people, or were you just like, oh, I'm just excited to be here?
I was just excited to be.
Yeah.
Honestly, like I say, it was just a hobby. I wasn't quitting any.
Right.
Right. So role model, I didn't even think of myself that way. I was excited because I did something that challenged me. I did something out of my comfort zone. So I was just excited about that. And I had no expectations. And so when I got my pro card on Team U with Nicole Wilkins and everybody, thrilled, and still didn't believe it at the time, but hey, it happened. So yeah.
Fine. Well, we're gonna drive back into a bit of history, but I want to go ahead and jump to Latorya really quickly. My boo, we came up, we come a long way.
A long way, yes, ma'am.
A long time, because for those who don't know, Latorya turned pro right after me. I want to say, right? Because what year were you? It was 2013, right?
13.
Yep. And I was Nationals 2012. So we were back to back. And then I remember it was, when was it? It was when you got your pro card. Because like I told y'all last episode, I watch everything and everybody. I saw this girl get off stage with the overall trophy. I said, oh, shit. I said, mama, hey, look now. Because it was like, wow. And I think for me coming up, I didn't necessarily have anybody to look to because I was always muscular. And I said, she has muscle too. Her muscle is kind of like mine. Like, all right, this could be something, like we may have a way to make space for those who are more muscular but weren't women's physique. Like, we were by no means lean enough or shredded enough or anything enough to be women's physique. But when I saw you, I was like, I got excited. So watching everything unfold throughout this last 12 years, I've just been excited probably the whole way. But when I first saw you, I was like, all right, here we go.
You're like, we got something.
I
was saying, like, you finally saw something that, you can compete against, or that could open that door, that we could all open that door together. Yeah.
Yep. So let's run through. First, for people who don't know, let's go through your history, because you tried to start a bikini, y'all. She tried to start a bikini. Okay.
And I did okay. I did okay. So anyway, 09 when bikini started.
Yeah.
09 is when I competed at a local show in Vegas. There was no shows back in 08, 09. But in 09, I did the Las Vegas Classic, bikini. I think it was probably me, one other girl
wow.
in that class, because that division just started. I don't even think it was had started at Olympia yet. Debuted
no,
at
not
Olympia.
2010. Mm-hmm.
Yep. So 09 was my first show, bikini. And that was just me just doing something. That was me just getting on stage, continuing some things that I had started in Vegas already. Because, of course, we have the pool parties, we have the casinos, and we have many competitions, bikini competitions.
Yeah.
So I had entered in those competitions, and then I had got approached by a promoter around 08, 09, and he was telling me about his show, Steve Carr. And I was like, okay, well, that seems pretty easy. I'm already, doing these little local,
Right.
bikini competitions on the strip and at the casino, so I'll do it. So it was something that just kind of just fell in my lap. But then getting that little win, even though it was just one other competitor, it just kind of hyped me up. And I was like, maybe I could do this again. So then I looked into 2010, competed again, started going online, looking at some cookie cutter diets, some YouTube videos. I believe the very first video I saw was probably of Alicia Marie.
Okay.
Do y'all? Yeah, Alicia Marie. I know she competed in figure. I don't think she ever made it to the Olympia stage in figure, but then she crossed over to bikini. So I had followed some diets that she was doing and some training, and I was like, I could do this. I could do this myself. So I got back on that same stage in 2010, placed dead last. That by then it was already some, athletes, competitors that were competitive in bikini, and they already had that look that they wanted. I was out the look. I was wellness then. So wellness was back then. You know what I mean? I was like, that was wellness then. So apparently I had too much ass, right? Too much legs, too much of everything. And was talked into crossing over into figure. Well, I started doing my research, looked into figure, and I was like, well, I'm not seeing anything that's really representing what I want to look like at that time anyway, because I believe 2011, 2012, that's when Candace was coming up. So I was starting to see her physique, and then you got your pro card in 2012. So starting to see you, loving you guys' physique, knowing that, okay, this could be something similar. And my coach pointing you both out, say, hey, you can look like this, because I was really hesitant. I was like, I don't want any muscle. I don't want to look big, because as I said, the only muscles I saw that was mainstream, that were being marketed, was the women in bodybuilding. And I didn't want to look like that. Right? I just didn't want to be that big, even though, Linda's muscles are beautiful. Iris Kyle, everybody's physique is beautiful. It was just like, I didn't want to look like that. Right? So I was really hesitant on wanting to pursue or transitioning or moving forward with becoming a figure athlete. So again, my coach would be like, look at these girls. They look amazing. Look at them. Look, they still look feminine. They have beautiful muscles. You can do this. So then I trained, did another local show in figure that following year. It did well, placed in the top 5. And I was like, okay, maybe I could do something. So I kept doing shows. As I was saying before, there was really not that many shows in Vegas. So I would drive all the way to Culver City and do those muscle contests just to get looked at, just to see, where could this take me? It seems like something might be working out. But then, being really the only Black girl on the stage, kind of feeling left out, right? Still placing, because how can that physique get denied?
Right.
You know what I'm saying? It's really not, saying like, oh my God, I was the shit on stage and I'm supposed to be. I'm just saying that particular physique was.
But you were. Just say it. It was. She said what she. You heard it. Anyway, continue, friend.
But I'm saying I probably didn't have as much muscles as some of the girls I was competing against. I think if anything, you know what I mean? I think if anything, that shape just was, front and center and could not be denied. So I would place within the top, and just seeing that, knowing I had that shape, getting some feedback, knowing I had that potential, I just wanted to continue on, and I did. And I got serious then. I was like, this could really be something. So I got serious. Me and my coach got serious. I was sticking to the diet, sticking to the plan. That way everything was pretty much 100% in, and started doing well. Didn't really get my first place. I got my first place, probably my first time I went into figure. And then after that, I didn't get my first place from there. So first time crossing over into figure, I got my first place. That was here in Vegas. And went over to Culver, did the muscle contest, competed, probably top 5 all the time. And so I was kind of discouraged, right? I was like, oh, this ain't gonna be nothing. I'm not gonna go pro in this, right? Ended up doing nationals anyway. I gotta see where I stand. I gotta see, how I stand up to these girls that are beating me. So let me go to these national shows. Ended up winning overall. I said, what? So I ended up winning overall, first place. And I was like, okay, this is where I was supposed to be. I need to be in front of these judges, right? These pro judges, these national judges. So then after that, I took off from there. I knew I had what it took. And at that time, 2013, when I placed pro, Candace was already on the Olympia stage, right? That's because at that time, like you said, we was all coming up around that time. So at that time, I was able to see her not cracking top 5 yet, but she was still in the mix, still talked about. So it just, put that fire in me to continue on, to continue to be serious. And 2014 did well. 2015 went on and did what? I went on and did Arnold, did New York Pro, and got my first Olympia title. And then I was like, okay, which was a shocker at that time, because I'm like, how am I gonna beat her? You already know. How am I gonna beat her? Because it's everywhere. It's promoted. This is gonna be, history. There's no way that I could, But as I was saying, don't get discouraged to everybody watching. Don't get discouraged, because hard work can never be denied, right? And that's what I did. I kept pressing. I kept on and did what I needed to do, controlled what I can control. I didn't want to leave any stones turned or whatever. I didn't want to get on stage and be like, I could have did this, I could have did that. So I made sure I stepped on that stage, never feeling like that. And it paid off.
Mm-hmm. Now, going in, did you do, because like I said, I'm a researcher, did you do any research? Like, when you won, I'm sure you knew you were the first Black woman to win the Olympia title. Was that your goal after you started getting serious?
Let me really think. After I started getting serious, funny you say that. Right before I won, not like that day of the show, but I'm just saying before that win took place, before I won in 2015, in my head, I was thinking, I just want to be in the mix. I was like, I just want to be in the mix. Of course, I'm not going to win because Candace was here first.
Yeah.
She's going to win. She's going to be the one that's going to take it, So I'm so excited for her. I was like ecstatic for her ride, because she, like I said, she was the one that I watched. So I was kind of excited for her rise and focus more on that. Like, she's going to be the one and blah, blah, blah. And this, of course, I wanted that, but I just didn't think the way things line up in the sport. Like, people always in your head, like, you got to pay your dues. That's what people always would say to me. And that's what I was thinking. You got to pay your dues. So there's no way my second time on this stage, how is that going to be? How is that possible? But again, right? Like, hard work can't be denied. Focus on you. You are your own competition.
That's right. And I think the most pivotal thing was, first of all, I got to tell the story of when she first won, y'all. Because I'm back here, I'm in his second call out, minding my business. I'm like, hey, again, I'm literally just happy to be here. Like, all right, second call out, yay me, go me. Yes. I'm on the side, and I heard it. When I tell y'all, I screamed in the middle of the Orleans arena. I said, ow! I'm on stage. I was flabbergasted. You would have thought I won the show. Because I think what it was is like we talked about before, like you said, you had a body and have a body that is very much you. When you put it next to the people who we used to compete against, you couldn't really compare it. It was so pow, 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 that if you put something next to something that may just be pow, it doesn't work. You can't reward just the pow when you keep seeing pow, pow, pow repeatedly. And then it comes into another person and then another person. Because let's even talk, so y'all know on the podcast, we're going to keep it real. There was numerous times people would come to me. I don't know if they came to you, Latorya. Oh, they're never going to put all three of y'all in the top 5.
Oh, girl, yeah, I heard that.
All the time. And I said, these folks don't know me, because who ain't? What you mean? I'm coming. Latorya and Candace already in that be. I'm coming. Just you wait. Because I think the thing is too is people don't realize, like, a lot of our age difference. I was a baby. Like, when I went to my first Olympia, I barely was 22 years old. So not only that is coming up in at that time, like Teresa said, back in the day, they were pleasant to her. I will say they were not pleasant to me. Now, were they outright nasty? No. Were they intimidated? Very much, yes. And that was from my pro debut. When they went to other judges who came back and told me and said, who is that little black girl? Okay? So, yeah. Again, people don't realize, just because I don't talk, that's why I stay over in the corner and mind my business. To this day.
From day one.
I'm in the corner, ducked off. Because that's what I came up in. So why, if I knew that was the energy before and now I'm at the top, why am I going to go out here with everybody who doesn't even want me to be here in the first place? I'm going to stay over here and mind my business. But a lot of that came from the beginning of the little whispers I would hear. Like when you won, the little slick whispers, the little dismissiveness, the things that I listened to and heard and took in, I was like, are we really doing this? Now, what I love is when that moment happened, the support that came from people who wanted to see that history be made. And I think when you are a person who is trying to break down doors, I think the main takeaway I want people to take away is you have to be undeniable. It can't be, oh, this is okay, this is okay. No, you got to knock heads off. Just knock them out. And so I think that's what you did, and that literally knocked the door down for everybody who came after you, for the entire industry as a whole, and the entire category, because when I look at figure now, it would have never been where it is without you. Because I think at that time, for me, I still, like I said, I was a child. I had to grow. As I got older, stuff started popping. Okay, because I'm grown now. It's not giving child body, it's giving grown woman. And so I think y'all as grown women, y'all had to knock it down for me because I'm still a little baby. I'm like the little sister in the back. Like, I'm not there yet. I have potential, but I'm not there yet. So I can't knock down no door. I'm not even I ain't to the house yet. I'm back here on the street. Okay? I'm over here on the street. I'm walking to the house. Well, running. I was trying hard. But I think that was the main thing for me. And it was so empowering and so beautiful to watch. And I said, okay, you know what? I can do it. I can do it. I can do it.
That's what it was all about for me. Especially it being like, all those things went in my head. People were like, what were you thinking? I was thinking of so much because I was like, I'm the first Black figure Olympia. I have just like made history, obviously, but if anything, been a representation of what I was looking for when I started. People can see you can do this. You don't have to be overly muscular. You can have great shape. You can be feminine. Like I just was that representation for women of color, not just Black women, but women of color. Look at the top 5. Hispanic, Black, you know what I mean?
Everybody.
Like Asian.
Yes.
So that was, I think, the biggest satisfaction for me. Just being able to open that door, and it's been open and it's staying open pretty much.
What did you want to say, Teresa?
And when Latorya won, we were all like, I was kind of watching things online, and I was like, oh my gosh, finally.
Yeah.
Awesome. Since 03.
It was great. And of course, like when you walked out, you just kind of owned the stage. And I knew Candace, I competed with Candace, and I loved Candace's body. You know, I kind of felt like she got slighted a couple of times, but here we are, you know. So to see all 3 of you guys next to each other on stage, it was just like awesome. The 3 best bodies, because you all had nice muscles, nice shape, but it was just a little different. So it was awesome. I was excited. Yeah. Just nice.
D, what was your take when you were watching everything unfold? Like because you were back in the Felicia Romero days, all the way through. What was your take as you watched like the original figure people all the way to? We're not gonna get to now yet. We're still in the history portion now.
Right.
It was. I mean, obviously, back when Teresa competed and Natalie, you 2 guys were my favorite physiques, and Gina Aliotti, you 3 were my
I like Gina too.
favorite girls. Latorya, when you won, I wasn't happy because I was coaching Candace back then, and you leapfrogged us. You went from like 5th to winning.
I know you was mad. I know you was like, how? And I thought the same thing.
No, I wasn't saying how, but I'm just saying I wasn't happy. Just let me
I know you weren't happy. But still, I was thinking the same thing. I guess.
I was around. I think the hardest thing, like with Candace, with a lot of Black athletes, is the look was just different. The muscle bellies were different. The joints were smaller. So it was really, I'm speaking like from a coaching perspective and maybe guessing what the judges were looking at. It just was a different look. And there wasn't a lot of that type of look at every single show. So you had like the banana and then you had all the oranges. So it's like, well, when are you going to pick a banana over the oranges? Right. So it was hard for me trying to navigate that with Candace because she just had a very different look than everybody. She had a very, very small waistline, real big billowing quads. So when we go to a lot of shows, if there weren't other black athletes in there, it was the comparison wasn't equal. So as a coach, I didn't necessarily know what direction to try to take her one way or the other. You know what I mean? So, but yeah, I definitely was in the thick of all of it because, I coached her from the start, and she actually did bikini just like you, Latoya, and she went over the muscle contest, did bikini over there, and then she went back over there for figure for Cal Pro, won her overall there, and that's when it kind of, next show we did was Junior Natch, and she won the overall there around same time y'all were coming up. So it was definitely different. It was different. Navigating those waters was different for me as a coach as well. So I definitely understand the perspective of what you guys experienced. Obviously, I don't understand how it felt to go through that, but as a coach, it was definitely different. That's for sure.
Now let's transition into when it all came to fruition for like history. So you were history. The second part of history all started in 2016. And that was like, let's take it back to when, they're not going to put all y'all in the top 5. And I said, watch me, I'm coming. That's when the first time I started working with D. And that was my first top 5 at a high level show ever. And that was the first time we were all in the top 5 together.
At Arnold.
At the Arnold. And then 2 weeks later, for y'all who don't know, and now a large part for my people who are listening in, a large part, like we talked about the disconnect between a lot of the coaches and everything at this last podcast. There's a disconnect between newer athletes who don't know their history. And that's the main reason why I'm doing this version of the podcast, because as you come up, if you claim you want to be Miss Olympia, you have to know the people who came before you. You need to know the history of the sport and be the fan of your category, at least ideally of the sport. So this is really for educational purposes, motivational purposes, and for you to take away whatever you need from this conversation and move forward. But again, the whole vibe of what you can pick up is don't let nobody tell you what you're going to do. That's the main vibe of all this. Do what you said you're going to do and have the audacity to stand up for yourself and show up for yourself continuously. Anyway, back to what I was talking about. So we get to Australia, and then I remember, because I got 5th at the Arnold. And I was like, okay, I'm going to fly to Australia. I'm probably going to get 5th again. It generally is what happened. Everything stayed the same from the U.S. to Australia.
Yeah, usually.
And I remember they started mixing people around. I said, wait a minute. I'm getting a little close to this little box. I said, okay. All right. I'm getting some movement. And then finals came, and that was the first time in history you had 3 black women in the top 3. And I remember the internet was in an uproar. And I just loved it. It was a crazy time. Shout out to Steve Weinberger. You made that happen, buddy.
Yeah.
He was our head judge for the Australia. But that was cool to be a part of that history and see, because once you had you and you had similar bodies you could more closely compare it. That's where I say it opened for people who don't know. That's what I say open the door, because it pulled our physiques into yours. It pulled us to the top. Because you were there, if you really want to compare to what the standard is, you got to pull those who remotely look like her to the top.
Had no choice.
Yeah.
It was easy when Candace was in the mix. It was easy when Candace was in the mix because you can put her wherever you wanted to. If you really wanted her to win, she could have. But the fact that there was no us, there was no others that could be that could stand next to her, be compared to her. It's easy to keep her out the mix. But once you had me, her, you, there was like no denying what was going to be out of top 5. That was going to be the only way, but that didn't make any sense. So that was all. And we're here. Yes.
Yep. And that translated over to Olympia, and then the years that followed and followed and followed. So another part of the history is I want to go through the past winners. So of the winners of the Figure Olympia title, there have only been 7 women in the last, we've been around since 2003 at the Olympia. So the last
12 years.
Yeah, that was the first one. Yeah. That was the first one. So from 2023 to 2024, there's only been 7 women to win that title.
Mm-hmm.
So for history purposes, I put pictures up for all these people. First person was Devonna Medina. She's super sweet. You can follow her on Instagram. She still runs and does triathlons. We talk. She's great. So that was Devonna. And then you had Jenny Lynn next, right?
Mm-hmm. Jenny Lynn.
And then after Jenny Lynn, Jennifer
the
Gates.
other Jenny. Yep.
Mm-hmm. I'm going to put pictures of all these people so you can kind of just see kind of how everything progressed. And after Jenny Gates, it was Aaron Stern. And then it went to Nicole. Then back to Aaron.
Mm-hmm.
And Nicole first, then Aaron.
Okay, so
I thought Nicole.
Aaron.
Nicole first.
Yeah,
Nicole first.
Then
Nicole, Aaron, Nicole, Aaron, Nicole, me, you.
Yes. In that order. So I'll drop the pictures below or somewhere on here so y'all can see kind of just how everything just changed slowly but surely, and we got to where we are now, where I would say it's my favorite thing to look at, because for me, and I'm putting a picture up with, like, I remember one person when I was researching, they put the old school bodies next to the newer ones, and for me, I looked at it and I remember thinking back then, I said, I could never be that small. I could never be that small. And during my research, it was Jenny Lynn. She posted she was 123 pounds on stage. Ma'am, I could never. I was 120 pounds in 6th grade at age 12.
But I remember, what was that? Was that your qualification, Chicago?
Yes, I was sick, looking sick.
Yeah, that's what you talking about. You can't be small. What?
That was literally no carbs for 2.5 months. I got done with track season, no carbs. All canned salmon, 3 florets of broccoli. I was doing 45 minutes fasted in the morning, repeat 800s every single day to lose 7 pounds of muscle within the next 4 weeks. I couldn't do nothing but
I didn't coach her back then. I didn't coach her.
That's what I was going to say. Then she found Damian. I know Damian wasn't representing
I don't want people not emailing me because they think I'm going to make them eat canned soon.
Oh, no, hell no. So,
look, too, because Jenny was very curvy.
Yes.
Smaller, and you're more athletic and a little bit more muscle. So it was definitely a different look. Yeah.
Yes. So I tried my hardest to my friend. He was like, you ain't going to like this look we got to pull you down to. Because I love the look. When I got off my track season, my last track season, I was stacked. I was like 139 on stage, thick. I was like, that's it right there. The judges said, no, it's not. No, it's not. It's not it. Run that off. All that got to go. And so I got to run it. And running. So by the time I got to the Chicago look you're talking about, I was 126 pounds.
See? I knew you was something in them 120. I knew, because I know that look.
Now the question is... Go ahead.
Oh, no, I was saying, because I had to get down to that 120 just to get that pro card. Then I started eating.
Exactly. The last time I was in my 120s, I was starved out for 37 days on Survivor, okay? That is at 37 days of pure one coconut a day.
Oh.
Okay? I am not meant to be that size. And so that's I always say, like, I am so grateful for the evolution of our category. I would have been up out of here. I probably would have made it at that Olympia after Chicago, and that's it. We're going to go ahead and hang it up, because that's when I met D. And D was like, are you trying to eat and try like an athlete or not? And I'm like, I am. And that was it. And I've never gone no carb ever since. So.
I love it.
I had the opposite. I had to always fill out because too small.
Yeah.
I would eat and eat and eat. And just, it's just kind of one of those things. It was a different look. We didn't have as much muscle. Mm-hmm. So any little thing, I would look like a pencil. So
yeah.
Problem.
Now, there was one time I heard, I think it was Heather Grace who mentioned it one time. She said that her carb up because they apparently didn't want y'all to have abs back in the day or something like that. So she would eat some hot Cheetos and honey buns real quick to try to get rid of all the lines she had. And I was like, nah, Heather.
Never did that.
Okay.
I never did that. But Heather was
Teresa,
a figure at the time we competed. Go ahead.
Teresa, what was mainly the feedback you would get? Would it be that you needed to fill out from the judges? What would the feedback be?
Yeah, I needed more leg size and to fill out more.
But I was
what I had. Yeah, so that most of the time it was more.
How tall are you?
5. Well, at the time I thought I was 5'8", but I was more. So yeah.
You was talking about some stuff you wanted to talk about, some stuff you read or something like that. What was that?
Oh, I didn't go see the way my mental health is set up. I didn't go reading everything. I read one little comment. It was talking about how Nicole got robbed or something else. But what I didn't know is during that time what the other edge of it. So I know there was people who were excited about the win a large bit. There were people who were mad about it.
Oh,
but
of course.
it was, and then it was something.
I said, of course. When you said they
there
were
was
mad about it.
The one comment I saw is they kept saying that Nicole like women's physique, and I was like, I don't think I saw that to me. But that was the only comment I was like, I don't think that was. I just think it was a shape differential was the reason why it got changed. I don't think it was anything like. So when I read that, I was like, I don't think so. I don't think so. But what I did, go ahead.
Physique's evolved.
Exactly. And that's the point too. And I think a lot of the time bodybuilding gets a bad rap for the evolution of things. And it's like every sport evolves. A person running 1960s will get dusted by a 7-year-old right now. So it's not like women, like there's a 12-year-old girl right now running 7 seconds in the 60. Those times were unheard of back in the day. So things evolve. People get better. And I think bodybuilding is one of the only sports where it is so much of an issue and so much of a discussion on, oh, this is that. Just say that you can't fit in it anymore and you're mad about that. Say that. Or just be appreciative of the bodies that you're seeing in the evolution of the sport. But being like catty about it has always been weird to me. And being dismissive of the work it takes to grow and to change a sport has always been a little bit weird to me, I will say. But yeah, that was pretty much what I was seeing. But I've noticed that the most in our sport, just of how it's an issue when things evolve. It's very much an issue. And for during that time period, it was more so a question to myself of, why is this an issue? Why is this specific win such an issue? And I have evidence. The one thing I always know, I've had the judges tell me things that have been said. I've had friends tell me things that have been said when all the shifts were happening. And I get that people want to be nasty and mean sometimes, but you can do that to yourself. Don't tell the people who you think are friends with you more than me. Because I'm going to hear it. And that was probably my only hang up back then. It was like, just be okay with the evolution. Just be okay with it.
Well, you'll have to be.
Exactly.
And it's probably mainly ones that are talking about it more, probably never stepped on stage.
Teresa, your voice note cut out. Say it again.
Well, I was saying that you're going from someone that was a little bit more very good on stage. Nicole was very good. A little bit more boxy next to someone with a smaller waistline. It's kind of the point you can't keep denying this X kind of factor. To me, that's where the evolution came in. It's like, okay, let's start rewarding a great shape. I like, as a judge, I love people with great shapes. And I'm not didn't have a great shape, but it's a different shape. And
it's just different.
Nice shoulders, tiny waist, and not too big quads, and every fall in line. My eyes are looking at that person, and the next person, the next great shape or whatever, in shape, but I'm looking at that phenomenal shape,
at that flow.
And that's one thing I love about where the category is now is just, it's like we talked about, it's so diverse. It's not just one of anything. It's a whole bunch of people who want to have that muscle, want to have that shape. And I think that's what I can appreciate the most. Because back then, during that time, it was still, though we've come a ways in terms of women being able to have muscle on their frame and it being more mainstream, more acceptable to an extent. But back then, I think it was even less of an extent. So to see that, like when I see women with more muscle and wanting to gain that muscle, I think that is a good shift for society as well, to kind of showcase and be like, If you want to have more muscle, you can. That's why I also like the benefit of having more categories. If you want to have more muscle, you can. If you don't, you can stay here but still have muscle. It gives you a little bit of a breadth and depth to be able to go where you decide you want to carry around for your body and your frame. And I think that's probably been the coolest part, but it did require those doors to be knocked down because it kept people who looked like us, people who were ex-athletes to a higher extent or just had different muscle bellies, different genetics, different cultural backgrounds out. And so I think when you open the doors, it opened the doors for everybody who just wanted to be shaped with muscle. So I appreciate that.
I love that.
Yeah, I think, well, early on, before me, there was a 5 or 6 girls that were always in the top 5 or top 6. It was hardly ever a shakeup. And even when you first 1 or 2 Olympias, you kind of saw like some of the same girls. And you just never know. Yes, you guys are still, are still there, but you may have a different 3rd, 4th, or 5th. So it's different bodies coming along. Before it was just the same people over and over again. Okay.
Yeah.
That's what I love. And that's what I was talking about, having that conditioning, seeing the same thing that was conditioned, like, okay, they're going to have their time. Okay, she placed this in this show. She's going to come up here. So there was no way that I ever thought I would be in that mix then.
I felt
at
like
that time.
judges were open to someone different, right?
I think so too.
After a while, like I said, for a while, okay, we know who's going to be in the top 5. Let's just go out there and do our best. But like you said, there's an evolution, and we're always glad.
Yes. And then D, I was gonna ask you. Okay, so now back to let's go back. Okay, so when I was coming up, I heard like certain feedback. So I know they told you to get a little bit fuller. Do you think? Because I got a different viewpoint because I grew up in the South. Okay, all the girls in the South, we're a little thick. We're a little thick and muscle. It's either you thick or you muscly. Like I didn't have any skinny friends. Like I had none. And so when I came up, I was like, maybe there aren't as many black women because we tend to be a little thicker on the bottom, and it's gonna jiggle. It was jiggling when folks was 12. So you know what I'm saying? Like it wasn't like maybe it wasn't considered in shape. So that was like my thought process as a little kid. I was like, well, maybe that's why we're not there. And then I asked one of the judges one time. He was like, that's part of it because it didn't appear as in shape. So to me, I took that as if the glutes are bigger and this butt is a little bit flatter, it's easier to get a flatter glute in shape appearance-wise than a juicier, rounder, more voluptuous glute.
Yep.
So I think that was a lot of, like he was talking about, it was just different bodies. But I think that's a part of it because culturally, we were, never really told to have muscle. And most people just wanted to be thick. At least in Georgia, everybody wanted to be thick.
I mean, I grew up in Georgia, so that's what I knew.
Okay, that's all I knew. So be thick. And so, I mean, I was thick and swole. I got the best of both worlds. Okay, I just had to put it all together because that's what I got. But I think that was probably a hang up too, and a lot of critiques back in the day. Because when I look back at pictures, I was like, no, their butt's just bigger. And when I look at a lot of the winners, it just was not big at all. It just was very like. So I think that made it appear as if other people were more in shape because it wasn't as much meat on the bones. So I think that was. D, what are your thoughts on that? I think that's a large part of it.
Yeah, the conditioning was obviously a lot different. Like for you guys, when you guys were coming up, like during the transition, like Latorya, when you won and Candace got 3rd, Candace's conditioning didn't really kick in until the following year after that, until she really started getting that paper thin skin. And then even the year after that, when she won the Arnold, I think for a lot of, I've coached a lot of black women and the skin, y'all skin's just a lot, it's more dense, whether it's more collagen production, it's just thicker. The texture is a little bit different. So the appearance of that thinness or the muscle push under it, you just don't see it as much, whether it's a fascia thing or whatnot. It's hard. Black athletes have to work really hard for that conditioning. Whereas, a lot of the white clients that I work with, when I say white, other races, they tend to have their skin's just really, really thin. They thin out really quick. They have a hard time being as full. So I think that it just dieting to that extreme back then wasn't a norm in figure. And so athletes were doing what they saw and then thinking it was enough. And then we get on stage and go, okay, the conditioning wasn't there, but we didn't necessarily know how to go to that next level yet.
Okay. Interesting. And then what I've noticed, we were talking earlier before we started recording. What I noticed is, since it's again Black History Month, have Black History Month again, the more muscular categories had more Black winners. So if you go from Carla Dunlap, she was like the second or third Miss Olympia in 1987. Out the gate. It just started. Women's bodybuilding had just started. Carla Dunlap. Then went from Carla Dunlap. You went from Carla to Linda. From Linda to Iris for 10 years. From Iris to Andrea. So that's already 4 champions we can name in the category out the gate. So to me, it was like, because a lot of Black women, we tend to hold more muscle. We have rounder muscle bellies. That's just kind of just in our genetic makeup. I think that's why it was so much more easily attainable then. Now, what I've noticed is, same happened with Women's Physique. They had a woman of color, Black woman champion pretty quickly. For figure, it took, because you were in 2015 from 2003, it took over a decade for us to get one. Right. Okay, so what I've noticed is the more mainstream the category is, the harder it is for Black women to get up as quickly. That's what I've noticed the most.
Absolutely.
So the same thing goes with bikini, because we had Daraja. Bikini has been on stage at the Olympia since 2010. We had Daraja, the first Black woman to be in the top 5 in 2023. 13 years. So you see the 12, 13, 14-year thing is tending to be a thing once the category has evolved to more muscular. That's when we slide on in there, and that's where it goes. I've noticed that. But what I'm curious to see is how that, Teresa, you can answer this for me, how that translates to fit model. Because we already know I got questions, because I have a client, I have clients of all kinds. I have fit model clients, and they both fit the criteria with completely different looks.
Yeah.
Wow.
So how are y'all gonna judge that?
I don't even know.
I think once fit model came about, I stopped judging.
Okay. You so silly. You so silly. But I'm curious, because I have one client, she was trying to be wellness, and she's not wellness. And she was like, "So I want to try fit model." I said, "Do it." But I think the issue with the fit model portion is there are a lot of girls who are nervous that they're going to be looked down upon, which I'm like, one thing we're going to talk about, we have got to stop body shaming within our industry. Y'all hated figure halfway when it came out. You hated bikini when it first came out. Y'all hate anything when it first comes out. You'll get used to it. You'll get used to it, and it will evolve. And so that's a message for my fit model ladies, is like, just do it. Don't be nervous about people talking junk. They're going to talk, whether you're the best thing in the slice bread. It doesn't matter. They're going to talk. So just go out there, show out, have fun, try to fit the criteria as best you can. But this is going to be the year to get out there and going, and especially for my Black ladies. Go out there and show up, show out. Don't let, again, we have to get to a point where we don't let race stop us. None of us did.
No.
We all reached for the ceiling. And I don't care if you Black, Puerto Rican, African, I don't care. White, whatever you identify as, reach for the stars. Reach.
Always.
Reach.
Always.
And don't let nobody tell you what you can't do. You don't know.
You never know until you get up there. So the same thing with the fit model. I mean, I have some clients too that say the same thing. How am I going to be, especially the girls here, because a lot of girls are feeling like, well, I just work at the pool. I'm just a cocktail waiter. I'm just so they're feeling like I'm just going to step on stage. I'm not going to get that respect because I don't have that muscle. Yeah. I'm not in the gym like the bikini girls, the figure girls, and so forth. And, so they're already doubting themselves because they just feel like they haven't put the work in that they need to. But again, just like you said, you have to step on stage because you don't know who's going to show up. And it's all about who shows up. You don't know where you're going to stand. You don't know how you're going to look until you're up against someone else. Yes, the competition is you. It's always you versus you, but you're not going to know where you stand unless you're standing next to somebody.
Agreed. D, what's your take?
Yeah, I think it's going to be interesting. I think it's going to take a while for it to. I think once we have one full season of pro athletes, it'll give everyone a better judge of what they're going to look for. Because I think right now everybody's looking for that ideal photo. We're all referencing like an Ashley Cutwalser or a Courtney King, and it's like those physiques don't even exist anymore. I mean, there's girls that are in my gym that are already more developed than that, and they ain't even really trying to be more developed.
Yeah.
So I think it's going to take a little bit, and the biggest stigma I hear from my athletes I have some young women that I want to do fit model for the fact I don't want to push their bodies too hard, too fast. Mm-hmm. So I don't feel comfortable bringing their body fat levels down that quickly at that age. And they don't want to do it because they just think it's like not a division of hard work. They just think like, well, I don't like, and that's how bikini was. You remember when bikini first started?
I remember.
Until the athletes actually started doing that division, it was just, oh, that's for strippers. That's for girls who just want to show their booties. You know, it wasn't taken
David,
seriously.
you talking about me?
Yeah.
I think
David talking
muscle
about contest. But so I just think it's going to take a couple years for once, especially some of the big name pros that will transition down into that division from bikini, or maybe some girls come out of retirement to give it a little bit more legitimacy. And then I think from then people will really, because I honestly think it's going to be the biggest division out of all of them. I think once it starts picking up traction, it's going to be the biggest division. The most attainable, you know, the most drug-free attainable, you know, so it's like, and you can do it at a young age out the gate instead of having to wait, because most figure girls, we're not getting a lot of new figure girls because it takes too long to develop muscle, and everybody wants to be somebody right now. Nobody wants to wait 5 years, you know, so it'll be interesting.
I will. The local shows, the numbers have been down.
Yeah.
For the last maybe 2 or 3 years. So.
Specifically last year. Last year we got hit. And I mean hit. In comparison.
What do you think?
The new
for all divisions? You mean just the shows in general?
Yes.
Okay. I mean, I feel like I saw that too here.
There was even some shows in Texas that usually have like 300 plus athletes. They only had like 80.
I think it was a buildup, though, from, remember COVID? We had that one year that was like a year and a half. It was a little bit longer. So I had athletes that were running for like 16 months straight. And then, you know, people started trying to finally catch up financially, and I think people just got really behind. And then last year was an election year, of course. So I just think all of it just kind of came to like a halt that last year. And I think everyone just kind of, we had to wait for that recycle of new crops to come back in. You know what I mean? So that's just my perspective as a coach, because obviously I see things differently because that's my form of income. So,
yeah.
Well, only time will tell. So I hope y'all have enjoyed this Black History Month, this bodybuilding history, this figure history podcast for today with our wonderful guests. Thank y'all for coming on and joining us.
Thank you, guys. Thanks for letting me be a part of it. This half Mexican, half German guy right here, you know, in Hawaii vacationing, you know. Thank you for letting me be a part of it.
Nice.
Much appreciated.
I love it. Thanks.
Latoria, you were supposed to call me like 3 years ago and you said you was making a comeback. You remember we talked in Vegas?
Oh, yeah, you coming back?
Remember?
I'll cheer you on. I'll get your food. I'll do whatever you need. I'll be in there like,
Hey, sis, she was talking to me in the parking lot, geeked up, and then guess what? Nothing. Crickets.
I said, ooh, you know? I got to do what?
Lost my number. You know?
And then Sydney gone. It ain't fun now, so I don't know.
All right, y'all. Thank y'all.
Thank you, guys. Pleasure.
Thank you. Love you guys.
Cyclence Unlocked, and we will see you back for episode 3 in a couple weeks.
Peace
Bye.
out.
Bye.